Hey guys, I'm just gonna see if this is going to work. So I wanted to come on and do a video of all of the frequently asked questions we see in this group and that I get in messages, and try to just have one place where we cover them. So my goal is to have this work successfully with the poor internet that I have right now, and have it on my Healthy Families for God YouTube channel so that we can refer back to it. So I quickly want to just go into the frequently asked questions, the questions that most people are having when they join this group or when they learn about the importance of stabilizing your blood sugar. So many people will come in here and think that this is just a group for those who have diabetes, and that just could not be further from the truth. However, the information is very much beneficial to those who have any form of diabetes as well. The information that I'm sharing in here is stuff that I have learned through monitoring my own glucose as well as my son's who has type 1 diabetes. And I get the benefit also of sharing with you what my clients are seeing work for them as well. So one of the questions that we see a lot is, why do I need to worry about my blood sugar? And I will tell you just right now in simple language that every health issue, concern, area of your health, every organ, everything needs your blood sugar to be stable in order for it to be healthy. So we go over in this group, the Level Life, all of the different ways that it affects those different things. But basically, in a nutshell, blood sugar spikes are inflammation. If you have inflammation in your body, nothing can heal with that inflammation ongoing. So anything related to hormones, adrenal health, thyroid health, your energy levels, your ability to think clearly and to focus, and all of that kind of stuff, just everything goes back to it. So that's why I cover it so much. I don't want to just share all of these supplements and all of these things that we use, which are super great and very beneficial, but then have people just kind of adding fuel to the fire all of the time with their health through blood sugar spikes and drops and stuff all of the time, this roller coaster. So that's why I spend a lot of time talking about it. One of the questions that people ask a lot is, how do I get a glucose monitor? So it is by prescription only in the United States, unfortunately, which I obviously don't agree with, by the way that I said that. But that is where we're at right now. And the problem is that 99% of doctors, even specialists, do not know or understand or are open to the link between blood sugar dysregulation and all of these other health issues. So it is a challenge to get a doctor to actually prescribe a continuous glucose monitor. So in the future, my goal is to have a document that you can have and take to your doctor that has extensive research listed out on it so that they can start seeing the value in that. I haven't had the time to do that yet, but that is something that I really want to make available to everybody. So when I do have that, it will be in this group. Another thing people ask me is, well, which kind? There are so many to choose from. And there are actually really only two. There are two companies right now who make continuous glucose monitors. One is Dexcom. There are just different models of it. There's a brand new model that came out, the G7. Some of us are still using the G6, but that is one of them, the Dexcom. And then there's the Libre, and then there's the different models of the Libres. In my opinion, the Libres are much more affordable, and they are very sufficient for those who do not have diabetes and who just want to start learning about how they can regulate their blood sugar. We use the Dexcom for my son that has type 1 diabetes. I know some people without diabetes like that one. It is more expensive. And so for me, I use the Libre and I glean lots of data from that. There are different companies that do offer it with an online doctor consult. And so that is one of the ways that I have been able to make this available to my clients and to those of you in this group and things like that. So NutriSense reached out to me and we went back and forth, and I was able to get a $75 discount code option for those in my group and my clients and things like that. So I have that information in this group, and I will post it in the caption of this video as well. The other question around that I get from people is, What about finger pokes, like getting those glucometers from, Walmart, Walgreens, and things like that? So the problem with that is that when you do not have diabetes, your body is going to do a really great job of working hard to get your blood sugar back to where it should be very quickly. And sometimes it takes longer than others, depending on what the meal or the food or whatever it was is. But basically, in order to catch how much your blood sugar is going to go up from whatever you're ingesting, the timing is always going to change. So you could eat something one day and it might spike at its peak at 39 minutes after you ate, and another day another food or something might be an hour and 15 minutes. There's really no way to know because there is truly so many variables, and the same food on different days is going to be different with you as well. So for instance, if you had one meal one day and the next day, you didn't get very much sleep the night before, or you're under a lot more stress, or you're at a different part in your menstrual cycle, the results are going to be different then too. And so being able to time the spike and the drop and things like that happen from food and stress as well is really, really impossible with just a finger poke glucometer. So for us, we just use the finger pokes, the glucometers, to verify if the data on our continuous glucose monitor is accurate, because sometimes there will be a funky reading and we're like, I'm not totally sure that that's right, because there's room for error on every single thing in this field. There's nothing that's going to be completely accurate. That's just the way it is. And also the information is going to change. It's never going to be the same because, you might have a spot on your finger that you check and then it's colder or it's warmer. And 2 minutes later, it's going to be a different number. And the continuous glucose monitors that we put on the back of our arms or wherever else, those check your interstitial fluid, not your blood. So there is a slight difference in those two. So all that to say, you're going to get 5 different results, and most people start out and they freak out and they're like, why am I not getting the same number? It doesn't work that way with our blood glucose or our glucose as shown on a glucose monitor. So, but the value in the glucometers where you just do the finger poke is to verify the data that you're getting from the continuous glucose monitor. But, it's really not very practical for if you are looking to see how your body's responding to different foods, because you won't get the full picture. We need the full picture. We need to see how much your blood sugar rose, how fast it came down, or how slow it came down, and things like that, because it's not just the numbers of where it started and or how high it got. It's where it started, how high it got, and what that difference was too. Because even if it's in range, the problem is that if it went up from 75 to 135 or something like that, that's a very big deal, because that is causing a lot of inflammation and other problems in the body. And so really the only way to get a good assessment of it is through continuous glucose monitoring. I will say that for most people, 1 month of continuous glucose monitoring will provide you with so much information and data that it will be life-changing. And so I do have an option that I was able to get from NutriSense where I can have access to people's data if they consent to that, so that with a consult with me, I can review that data and help you understand what you're seeing from the data and what changes that need to be made and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just a matter of a few simple shifts and things like that. And sometimes it's a matter of knowing which foods your body just really shouldn't be doing. One of the things I'm noticing with people is that they're saying, I used to be able to handle these foods fine, but now when I eat them, I have all those symptoms that my blood sugar went high. I have symptoms like that, just that crashing fatigue or that brain fog or things like that. Or the symptoms when your blood sugar is coming down really fast after it went up quite high, like, being hangry, cravings, shakiness, things like that, sweating. And so one of the things that we talk about in the Leveled Life group here too is about how so much of it really does depend on our sleep, our stress, and things like that. And with chronic stress over time, our body is going to handle carbohydrates a lot worse than it did in the past. And so what we maybe could eat 2 years ago, after 2 years of stress, our body just might be way more sensitive to the carbohydrates in that and stuff. So that goes on to my next frequently asked question. Are we against carbohydrates in here? No, we are not. We are all for a blood sugar stable diet, which will look absolutely different for everybody. But there are some things that are going to look, my cat's gonna tip my phone over, that are going to look, similar for a lot of people. So a lot of people, are going to, pretty much everybody is going to spike from juice or, from sugary pastries or things like that. But so we like to share the differences that everybody's experiencing and glean from that data as well, so that for those who cannot get a continuous glucose monitor at this time, we want to share that data in our group so that you can start gleaning from that, with keeping in mind that not everybody is the same, but just kind of learning like, hey, that was a problem for them. And so maybe I can watch and realize that when I ate that, that's why I felt so tired and brain fogged after I ate it. Just to kind of start putting those pieces together if you're not able to do the continuous glucose monitoring. So that was another question we get. Do I have to have one? No, we want to do our best to share information with you that you can learn from what we are learning, if you aren't able to do it. But I will say, I have, been through naturopathy training. I have been through certified nutrition counseling, and just a lot of other things that over the last, what have I been doing this for? 15 years. And I will say that before you do any kind of testing, if you're going to spend money on any kind of testing or, all those kinds of things, this is probably the most valuable thing you can do to spend your money on in order to assess your health, because you're going to get real answers in what's working for your body. And so all of this other noise that's going on, and this person says you shouldn't eat this, and this person says you should eat tons of this, and it just feels so chaotic, you're going to get perfect clarification on that when you do your own continuous glucose monitoring. So, you know what, no matter what anybody else says, if you're feeling thrown about by all of these diets and this and that you should do and you should do that, you're not ever going to truly know unless you can do continuous glucose monitoring for yourself. And like I said, most people will get so much data within a month that that's all they really need. And so moving forward, I have been wearing one off and on for a year, and I know exactly how my body is going to handle everything that I eat and drink for the most part, from a wide variety of things. I know how my body is going to handle a sleepless night. I know how my body is going to change, my glucose is going to change different parts of my cycle and all of that kind of stuff. And so I can eat something and know exactly where my blood sugar is going to go with that without even having to have a continuous glucose monitor on now. And I got a lot of that data after just a month. The reason that I do it ongoing is because I want to continue learning so that I have more things to share with you guys. And also sometimes too, when I'm going to switch things up and I'm going to try something different that I haven't eaten at a restaurant, or I want to try it before my son with type 1 diabetes is going to have it. Or, just something different's going on in life and we're going to do something different. We're going to go on a different kind of RV trip. I want to try it out. So my goal is just always to continue to get more and more information that I can share that's beneficial. And just really in showing you how healing it was. I personally worked for many years to support my body out of adrenal fatigue. My cats are so naughty. And I, did all of the things and wasn't getting progress. And so in my mind, I just said, well, as long as I'm under the stress in this stressful situation that I'm in and that I just, can't get around, and, my kiddo has type 1 diabetes, so I'm not always going to be able to pick my sleep at night. And so maybe that's just the way it is. And I really was doing a lot. If you know me and you know what I'm like, I did all of the things and it didn't matter how much it cost. And so what I'm sharing that with you is because the monitor my glucose like that, took care of it. It took care of all of the adrenal fatigue and wondering why I couldn't gain my muscle back. And I had done lab testing and why my DHEA was low and all of that kind of stuff. And I couldn't get it back to where it was a couple of years ago until I got my blood sugar stable, until I got it to where it was, my body thinks I'm fasting because my blood sugar is so stable now. And with that, I got very quick results. I got my energy back. I got my ability to build muscle back. All of those kinds of things. No naps. I don't need naps. I can handle sleepless nights. Those kinds of things. So I'm saying, I just want people to know really just how impactful this is on your health when you stabilize your blood sugar. There are some people who come into this and their blood sugar hasn't been great. And so they will actually feel a little bit worse sometimes when they're first starting out and the blood sugar starts getting into the ideal range, just because their body's not used to it. And so for some, there is a transition period, but for me, you know, our diet was really good. It just needed some tweaks. And so learning what those tweaks were that needed to be done for me was what really got me seeing really fast results in my own healing and energy and things like that. I'm 44 years old, by the way. And so part of it too for me was not just accepting that that's just what happens after you turn 40, your metabolism slows down and things like that too. It really goes back to blood sugar. So I'm glad to have found that out and that I can share it with you guys. So those are some of the common things that we get asked. A lot of it also goes back to adrenal health and electrolytes. What I'm finding is that most women nowadays are suffering from some sort of adrenal dysfunction. You might hear it called adrenal fatigue or things like that. But it is very rare for me to come across somebody in conversation or in all of the messages that I get from people or with my clients where they don't have some level of adrenal dysfunction. And the bottom of adrenal health and hormones, thyroid, all of that is truly your blood sugar. It has so much to do with it. And so it really has to be addressed if you're going to work on any of those kinds of issues. And to that, we are seeing a lot of things go back to the body's electrolyte balance. And that's really important any time of year, but especially now we're seeing it pop up a lot more with this being summertime. And so that is because the adrenals have the responsibility of maintaining an electrolyte balance in the body. And when there's adrenal dysfunction going on, the adrenals cannot do that. And so we're just completely having this electrolyte imbalance, and the electrolyte imbalance does play a role in our blood sugar stability too. So when the electrolytes are not balanced, there's another level of blood sugar dysfunction or instability going on too. So you see us talk a lot in here about electrolytes, the importance of electrolytes. And when I say electrolytes, I'm not talking about like these little, the little amounts that are added to smart water or things like that, or you know, just a regular mineral supplement. I'm talking about sodium in high amounts, a good sodium, not processed salt or anything like that, but I'm talking about good sodium and a good potassium and things like that. So that's why we talk about that in this group a lot too, is because it's all so very much connected. And so we talk about that as far as also like when some people are finding that they're waking up with their blood sugar high in the morning. That is generally, sometimes it's because there's just too much fat in the diet, which we're absolutely not low fat here at all, but sometimes there's just too much of it. And sometimes it also goes back to just the adrenals not being supported sufficiently. And so then when we wake up and our cortisol rises the way that it's kind of supposed to in the mornings to get us up, it's just rising too much. It's overreacting, and that makes our blood sugar go up. So we talk a lot about all of that in this group, but I wanted to just make sure that I kind of went over some of the frequently asked questions. I will see if I can get this uploaded onto my Healthy Families for God YouTube channel as well, so you can refer back to it. I will put this in the featured tab of our Level Life group here. And also in the featured tab, you can find a picture with the ranges. So if you're wondering what your ranges should be, there's that information there as well. One other last thing I would like to note, when you're using the Libre and the Dexcom, the first bit of time is, in my experience, mostly not reliable. So when I put a new Libre sensor on, I ignore the data for the first 48 hours because it always shows that I'm low and I'm not. For my son with his Dexcom, the first, I would say at least 6 hours are very inaccurate. With the Dexcom, you get 10 days. With the Libre, you get 14 days. So it kind of balances out in how much time of accuracy that you get with those as well. But the first 48 hours of the Libre are generally not reliable. So a lot of people will put it on and they're like instantly looking at the numbers and they're freaking out. So just make sure you note that when you have one, that you can verify with a finger poke, or you can just ignore it and just say, I'm going to need the data in 2 days, so I'm going to start one right now, and then expect to start being able to get some good data in 2 days. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'll keep trying to make sure that they're available for those who are asking, and I hope that was helpful. I'll talk to you later.